Welcome to Verses and Visions Creative Conversations, where creativity and purpose meet to inspire and uplift. I'm Cassidy Beck, your host, here to explore the stories of artists, dreamers, and changemakers who are walking in faith and using their unique gifts to make a difference. Each episode is a reminder that your vision, paired with God's purpose, can transform the world around you. Let's get started and spark some inspiration together. Hey friends, every guest brings something meaningful to the space, but my conversation with Laura, Bytheway, was one of those rare moments where the insights just kept flowing. So rather than rush it, we've decided to share this one in two parts. So her story, her wisdom, and the light she brings can breathe fully. This isn't about being more than another episode, just different how it unfolded. So I'm so excited for you to hear about it. Today's part one. Let's get into it. Today's guest is someone who is a woman after my own heart. She is someone who walks in deep clarity and helps others to do the same. Laura, by the way, is a powerhouse coach, a trusted mentor, and the bold voice behind the Post-Narc Life podcast. As a certified life coach and soon to be published author, she works with visionary creative entrepreneurs who are ready to break free from toxic patterns and step fully into their leadership. With a sharp, strategic mind and an unapologetic, empowering approach, Laura helps her clients elevate every area of life, business, relationships, mindset, and beyond. Her work isn't just about healing, it's about rising with intention, owning your brilliance, and building a legacy. Laura, I am so excited to be talking to you. Welcome.
Yay! I can't tell you how excited I'm to be here and chat with you. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's so funny. Laura recently taught a class over Zoom for LDS PMA. The minute I saw the class that she was teaching and her resume, I'm like, oh, great. This is someone that is saying the things that I want to say, but saying them in a better way with more focus. And it was really funny because I like talking about imposter syndrome and it was like head on. And this is my good old friend, imposter syndrome. And so I had to reframe that. And I feel like I'm getting a little bit better because I was like, okay, but this is someone that loves all of the things that you love. So why wouldn't you want to talk to her? Because she is interested in the same things. We are both life coaches, we're both podcast hosts, and we both like imposter syndrome. So this is like a match made in heaven.
Yes, I love it. So good.
One of the things from your class that I love so much, you talk about different flavors of imposter syndrome. Will you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Flavors of imposter syndrome. In other words, it manifests differently depending on who the person is, what they're dealing with, what their particular wounds are. Your imposter syndrome for one person might look one way, but it will look completely different for another person. But it's still the same thing that says, I don't belong here. I shouldn't be doing this. I need to stay back or keep myself small or not show up in the way I want to for whatever reason. So for some people, it might look like keeping yourself small to please other people or to prevent other people from feeling bad feelings. And so you're like, I'm going to try to save them or preserve them and keep myself small over here. Or it could look like you sabotage, where you get really close to that success and then at the last minute, something bad happens, like you choke or you make a big mistake and then you tell yourself it's the worst, or it really just depends on the person. And these deep-seated wounds that prevent us from showing up fully as ourselves are all different as well. And they are rooted in the three main things that I work with my clients on, which is the wounds of abandonment, shame, and powerlessness. And those wounds can create all kinds of things, including and especially imposter syndrome when you're trying to be creative, you're trying to do something big, you're trying to bring into the world the thing you were meant to bring into this world. Because our creativity, especially when paired with our desires and with our skills and our experiences, that is the trifecta of something truly beautiful that we can bring into this world, that we were meant to bring into this world. And what stops us is that flavor of imposter syndrome, whatever that looks like. If it comes from abandonment, if it comes from shame, if it comes from powerlessness, that's going to get in the way of that. And it's a simple question. You ask yourself, okay, why am I not showing up for what I want? what is holding me back? And there will be a ticker tape of thoughts or like a sensation in your body that says, whoa, it's not safe. It's not safe. And so when you experience that, say, for example, you want to write a book or you want to create something artistic, but then maybe you put it off. Maybe you say, oh, I'll do it next year. Or you tell yourself, I don't really have enough money. Like, I can't do it right now. Or you tell yourself, who am I to create something like this? Who am I to say that I'm like an expert at this? So all of those thoughts, questions, doubts are going to appear in your mind. And you can ask yourself, okay, are there any other reasons why I'm not showing up? And that awareness really helps you understand, okay, here's my work. Here's what I got to work on so that I can show up to bring my creativity in the world. And a lot of times we don't do that introspection. We just take our doubts at face value, right? We're just like, yeah, it's true. Look at my bank account. I don't have the money to create this thing right now. It's true. And then you don't have to do anything about it, right? You don't have to, because you believe it, because you're not asking yourself these questions, then you say, then I'll just wait until I get enough money and then I never have to take that action. And it feels really safe and it feels really normal. Whereas actually stepping out of your comfort zone is never going to feel safe, right? It's never going to feel natural. It's never going to feel I should be doing this. Like, this is easy for me. I can do this in my sleep. That is not reality for those of us who are creative entrepreneurs, who are creatives, who are stepping outside of the box constantly or creating things that have never existed before, right? We think that if somebody else did it, it's easier to do it. And that is true to a certain extent. But to be a creative is to say, I bring to the earth what does not yet exist. And so, of course, it's going to be terrifying. And then your brain's going to come up with all of these obstacles in the way coming from old wounds. And it's not going to give you feelings of peace and calmness and adequacy. It's going to give you feelings of fear and doubt and halting feelings that keep you from doing the thing you want to do. And so you got to be prepared for that. You got to be ready for it instead of taking it at face value.
There so many things that I want to talk about. There's just so much there that I loved hearing, and it just is. This is why I knew this was going to be like just so exciting for me. So, one of the things that I think is interesting, and I can't remember exactly where it's coming from, but you might remember the source of this, but that if when you have, I guess it's like that ceiling that you were talking about earlier, and that if you have like success in one area, then without meaning to, you might sabotage another area. For instance, if you get like a major promotion in work, and that means like you will be financially rewarded, then you might start picking a fight with a loved one just because you have this like ceiling of, I guess, comfortability, and you have, oh, I'm not supposed to be, this isn't supposed to be how it is, and so you like self-sabotage. Do you want to speak more to that?
Absolutely. So the self-sabotage, like you said, comes in, it's very subconscious. It's not intentional when we self-sabotage. It's all the low brain trying to keep you safe from what it perceives to be really dangerous. So getting that new promotion, that's going to bring you to a new level of visibility, perhaps, a new level, a higher level of scrutiny, a higher level of potential for failure, things like that, that our brains, our low brains in particular, perceive as something very dangerous. And so, in order to protect us from that, we can run into things like that where we pick a fight with our loved ones, or during the interview, we totally space the very thing that we need to say in order to get it. Or like we wake up late the day of the interview and we're rushing and we're stressed, right? Things like that that we don't consciously do, but happen because there's a part of our brains that's very real that says, nope, not safe. We can't do that. And it's really tricky because you don't know it's coming. You don't realize that's what's happening underneath the surface. And then you start to see it over time. Like there's a pattern here of I was successful in this, but then I really wanted to reach the top over here, but I didn't get it. And then this area, and then this area, and then this area. And if you're noticing a pattern, then that's a good sign. It's telling us, hey, your low brain is running the show because there's this deep seated belief that there's something fundamentally unsafe. And the way that we work through that is number one, awareness. Okay, let's ask ourselves, what could possibly be something that we might be afraid of. Really digging as deep as possible as we can to get as much awareness as possible. Asking yourself those tough questions, exploring. I like to ask, I'm sure you know this too. We just ask the why ladder. Like you dig more with just why. Keep going deeper. And you will find the gold when you do that. And then we bring that to the surface and we say, okay, what is so unsafe about being visible? Why is that terrifying? And then how can we soothe that part of our brain and say, actually, we are safe? Because if we're more visible, sure, we expose ourselves to more criticism, we expose ourselves to more potential for failure, but we have our own backs. Like, we can be our own best cheerleader. We can decide if we do happen to make a mistake or fail, that we will pivot and that we'll make it right. And that we will, because perfection is not required for success. It never has been, it never will be. And if something doesn't go quite right, you have the opportunity to either fix it, to pivot, or forgive yourself if you do make a mistake. And when you offer that to yourself ahead of time, it really helps to soothe that part of your brain so that you're less likely to self-sabotage. And that's the work, right? That's the work. We do that over and over again in all different parts of our lives so that we can really achieve what we set out to achieve. And it's just, it can be so tricky. It really can, because our brains are very clever. And it is like our brains are wired for survival. And you can't fight that part of yourself. You can't ignore it. You can't shove it down. You can't make it go away. You can't make it disappear. But what you can do is bring it to the table and say, I'm here for you. I've got you. I love you no matter what. We've got this. I offer you compassion and forgiveness no matter what. I have my own back. And what it does is it soothes that part of your brain so that those self sabotage moments are less and less likely, less and less occurring. It's fun. It's cool.
I love it so much. So that leads really perfectly into my next question because in the presentation, you talked about our brains and how that there are our brain, like when we get to the root of why we might be feeling this imposter syndrome, you have three different jobs of the brain. Will you explain a little bit about that?
Yes. So the brain is wired to do three things. It's to seek pleasure, avoid pain, and be as efficient as possible. That is what we're wired to do, like deep in the hippocampus and the amygdala and the pons, whatever, it's brainstem, lots of different parts of the brain. But in those, that low part of the brain that hasn't been developed by our cognitive brains, our prefrontal cortex, all of that on top, it's designed to say, okay, pleasure is the most important for survival. Avoiding pain is also the most important for survival. And being as efficient as possible in everything that we do is important for survival. We do those three things because we have to be able to use our energy efficiently so that any energy that comes to us, we can't, our low brains, they do not have a concept for how much is available to us in terms of energy. So, like food, water, things like that comes through our conscious brain. So when we make food, when we go buy it at the store, things like that comes from our conscious brain. And then our low brain can only know that we're getting food when we receive it because our low brain operates in the present moment only. Our conscious brain can conceptualize past, present, and future, but our low brains cannot. It only exists in the present moment. And so as we bring energy into our bodies, our brains are like, okay, we've got to use that energy as efficiently as possible because we don't know when the next meal is coming. We don't know when or how much energy is coming. And so, at least that's how it's evolved over the millions of years that brains evolved. The efficiency is really important because when the brain does everything that it does so much, it has to process so much input and it creates neural pathways that drive understanding, memory, sensory input, responses to sensory input, survival, all of those things are, when I say wired, neural pathways. So, like when we do things repeatedly, those neural pathways continue to get stronger and stronger. And when we stop doing those things, the neural pathways weaken because that energy and that resource needs to be redirected to the thing that is strongest, right? So efficiency is super important. So your brain is not going to offer you new ways of doing things. It's going to offer you the same ways of doing things over and over again unless you give it a new way and you practice that over and over again. And then the new way becomes the efficient way now. And that's why it's so tricky to heal, to learn new skills, to change old habits, because those neural pathways are really powerful and our brains are so efficient that all of the energy that and resources that it could have gone to other pathways have diminished and gone to the main pathway. And in order to create a new pathway, it requires more resources, it requires more energy, requires more effort. And our brains want to do as little effort as possible and be as efficient as possible. So that's that one tier. And then of course, seeking pleasure, that's about doing the thing that like tastes the best, feels the best. We want to create homeostasis in our bodies at all time. So any pain that might come through, we want to fix it as fast as possible. We want to avoid it as much as possible. At least that's the natural wiring of our brains, because pain is what leads us to not surviving. Pleasure, or feeling normal in homeostasis, keeps us in survival. And when we seek pleasure, avoid pain, and efficient as possible, that's trifecta, that's like triad of motivation in our brains, can sometimes come forward when we do something new. So, as creatives, like I said earlier, we bring into the earth what doesn't yet exist. And so we have to contend with the low brain that is not interested in what doesn't yet exist. It's interested in survival, it's interested in being as efficient as possible, avoiding pain, seeking pleasure. But the bad news is here is that being stepping outside of the box, being creative, opening yourself up to vulnerability, to criticism, to failure does not feel good.
Hey, Versus and Visions family. If you're on a journey to bring your God given visions to life, whether you're an artist, entrepreneur, or simply someone ready to take the next steps towards your dreams, I've got something just for you. Join the Sage Verse Publishing newsletter. It's packed with encouragement, practical insights, and strategies to help you stay focused, overcome challenges, and build role momentum. Let's walk this path together. Sign up today at sageversepublishing.com because your vision matters, and I'm here to help you make it happen. Let's talk about the original soda beer's drink, apple beer. If you know, you know, and if you don't, well, you're in for a treat. Apple beer is a crisp, refreshing drink that's been a family favorite for generations. It's non-alcoholic, smooth, and packed with that perfect apple spice flavor. Whether you're sipping it solo or sharing it with friends, it's always a good time. It's more than just a drink. It's tradition, it's community, and it's about savoring the simple joys in life. So next time you're looking for something special, reach for an apple beer. Now available on Amazon. Cheers to good times and great conversations.
We have to keep that in mind as we go to be creatives and soothe those parts of our brains that are like, warning, warning, this is painful, this is unsafe, let's not go there. And you say, I understand that. Of course, it's vulnerable. Of course, we're opening ourselves up to more criticism. That's totally a possibility. But what if we succeed? What if we fly? And like, as creatives, as I'm sure you can totally relate, we are driven. We are driven to be creative. We are driven to put things together. We have skills, we have experiences, we have desires. And when you are in activated low brain, your only focus is survival. But when that part of you is soothed and feels safe, then you have access to your creativity, to stepping outside of the box, doing the thing that's not efficient, going to a place that feels unsafe. You have access to that, and that low brain part of you is soothed and okay, so that the high brain part of you can put it all together and create something beautiful or unique or interesting or life changing or world changing, right? So as you go to do that, you don't have to fight your low brain. You don't have to quash it or make it shut up or go away. You just have to take it along with you and listen to, okay, what is it offering you? Kind of like what we were talking about before. Is it offering you, hey, let's avoid this pain? You say, yeah, I hear you. This feels really uncomfortable. My heart is pounding. There's like a knot in my gut. There, like my head hurts, I feel dizzy. And what you want to do is you activate your nervous system to feel calm. So you can do anything. You can do like deep breathing, you could do some movement, you can do some self-soothing techniques. You can bring all of the doubts and fears into your conscious awareness and literally talk to yourself like you would a child and soothe yourself like you would a child. And it works. It really works. And your nervous system calms and your low brain is okay. And then you have access to more creativity, more ideas, ways in which to bring your creativity to life, all of those things. And it's really that dance, it's that push and pull, and really reminding yourself that all parts of you are beautiful and all parts of you are important in creating the thing you want to create. And we're here to manage those parts of ourselves as part of the creative work. And it's really a beautiful process. It's not an obstacle. It's not a problem. You are not a problem to be solved. You're a person to be loved, just like President Monson said. And when we apply that to ourselves, you get to just experience the fullness of creation. We are creators, just like where we came from, right? That was built in us. It's who we are. But we're also humans. And being a human being is all part of the plan. It's all part of what we're meant to do and who we're meant to become and how we're meant to create. And so working with yourself in this way is just a really beautiful part of the process.
And okay, I love it. I love it so much. Something that really resonated with me. You said that one of your imposter thoughts that you had was that everything I have to say has already been said and better than me. So, can you walk us through how you get from these thoughts that you're having and turning them around so that you are acknowledging the human side of yourself, but then turning it around to allow the creative side to take over?
Yes. Okay. So that main thought that I had that everything I have to say has already been said and better than me. I've definitely had that thought, especially in the very beginning when I
Same.
discovered life. Yeah, I discovered life coaching, I would say in 2018, 2019. And I felt, man, I'm late to this party. Like all these people I admire and I'm listening to their podcasts and their master classes and getting coached by them and I'm just so inspired and this is so amazing, but I also like deeply want to be a coach. I remember when I first discovered coaching, it wasn't 2 or 3 months in before I was like, how do I do this? I want to do it. Can I do it?" And the very thought of becoming a life coach was terrifying. I had a degree in psychology. It's different. It's not the same thing as life coaching, of course. It's a lot of research and all the things. And I was like, I want to do this. Can I do this? And the great thing about being a life coach is that you can just decide you're a life coach. You don't have to necessarily get certified if you don't want to. I did get certified, but you don't have to. You legally, you can call yourself a life coach and poof, there you are. You're a life coach. And when somebody told me that, I was like, what? No way. What is that? And I followed so many mentors and I loved everything they had to say. And that was one of the major thoughts that held me back. It was like the world is just flooded with these genius people. Like, how could I possibly have anything to add? And that was something that I really had to work on. And it was not easy because essentially, this is what our brains do. My brain certainly does this, and my clients have done this too, where the thing that inspires us also can be the thing that we use as a stick to beat ourselves up. It's
Mm.
interesting. So, for example, when somebody says, I built my life coaching business and I made over $1 million, one person can look at that and say, wow, if she can do it, so can I. This is so inspiring. And then another person can easily take that same idea, that same person, and say, wow, they did that, but that like how could I possibly do that? What about me? Like I could never do that. And I have done that over and over again. I remember I went through that process with a lot of different inspirational people that I follow. And it was just like, oh, then I like it's like a zero sum game. They did it, which means I can't do it. So it's really fascinating. Our brains interpret that depending on how we're feeling that day and how much belief we have in ourselves. And for me, I decided to lean into sort of narcissism recovery type flavored coaching because I decided it was like the one thing I was good at. I was like, I'm not really good at hardly anything else. I'm a hot mess in my life. But with like narcissism recovery, I'm pretty good at that. I could do that. I could definitely sell that kind of coaching. And so I started with what I had. And that's kind of the interesting about NARC coaching is that I actually didn't set out to do that. That was not my intention. I wanted to do like general life coaching or literally anything but NARC coaching. And then it turns out all of my people, every last one of them that came to me needed help in that specific way. And I was like, all right, universe, message received. I got it. And I leaned in, and it's just been the greatest thing because the more I lean in, the more I have access to the creativity plus the experience, that triad of creativity, your experiences, and your desires. And I had the creativity, I had the desires, and now I was bringing into the game really deep and powerful experience that really, like, when you put all that together, it becomes like this superpower. And I was able to help my clients. I was able to develop intellectual property. I was able to think deeply about things and create a lot of classes or like methods, methodologies, step by step things, and receive inspiration to help the client that was in front of me. It's been the most amazing process. And so leaning into my own creativity, leaning into my own experience helped me deal with that imposter thought. And then also, I just decided to put the blinders on. I was like, there's a lot of people out there. If you really go down the rabbit hole of YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people talking about narcissism and flying monkeys and gray rocking and like all the things that narc recovery people talk about. And I decided, you know what? I cannot follow any of these people. I unfollowed every narc coach I could think of that was like showing their content in my feed. I stopped reading narcissism recovery books. I stopped looking at anybody that did narc recovery coaching, not because I didn't like them. I was very inspired by them and I think they're amazing, but because I needed to give myself so much clarity. I just needed to put the blinders on and carve my own path. And maybe there's like a million paths around me just like mine, and maybe they're better, maybe they're worse, maybe they're deeper and have more following. It doesn't matter. I don't want to see it. I just want to zone in on my own path. And that really helps because on the one hand, could I manage my thoughts about all the people I followed? Yes. But efficiency, right? That part of our brain that's very efficient. I don't have time for that. I don't have time to be exposing myself to the work of other people and then manage myself about how I feel about all of this and my own imposter syndrome. Instead, we just put the blinders on and we go to work and trust, right? Trust is such a big part of overcoming imposter syndrome. It's saying, I trust that my people will find me. And if they are my people, they will find me. And if they're not my people, they won't find me. And it's not a problem. They will go to the myriad of other coaches out there. It's not a zero sum game. They, like, we're all here to help and we all need to help. And there are so many people who need our help. And my specific flavor is going to be special for my clients in a way that this person's flavor is not, and vice versa. Their people, they won't connect with my flavor as they will with their people. And that is okay. That is perfect. That's exactly how it should be. And that really helps soothe my nervous system about that and say, yeah, I'm just looking for my people. And I don't have to worry about how good someone is or how I measure up to them. It doesn't matter because my people are ready for me at the right time. Because where I'm at now in my business and in my creativity and in my skill is totally different than where I'm going to be 10 years from now or 5 years ago. And my people found me at the exact right time and they will continue to find me at the exact right time. And it's just a beautiful, like, it's a co creation with my clients, with God, with myself, and I just get to be part of it. I get to be at the front row seat of someone's transformation using my experiences that were terrible to pass through, right? I get to use, like, all of those things were consecrated for the gain of everyone, for my people, for me, for who knows the ripple effect that this work can have. And when I think like that, it just opens up the freeway of inspiration, of content, of belief in myself, of connection with my next client. And it might be true that someone says it better than me. It might be true that someone has said more than me and articulated even more eloquently than me. That's fine. It's not a problem because my voice still matters. I still have something to say. I can only say it in my way. That other person who's better than me can't say it in my way. They can only say it in their way. And so my way is unique to me and will call my people to me, especially if I align myself more perfectly with my authenticity. The more authentic I am, the louder my beacon signal is for my people to come to me. But the more I dumb myself down or water myself down and make myself sound like other experts that I emulate, the more dampened the signal is and people can't find me. And that's another form of self-sabotage, right? Is the making yourself less you because you think that this person over here is better and you make yourself more like that person. Yeah, that's another way we self-sabotage. But yeah, so that is how I've like literally retrained my brain to think. And I literally never have to worry about that anymore. Like I feel so connected to my own unique voice in the industry. And I allow us all to sit at the table and there's an infinite pie. No one is taking from me and I'm not taking from anyone. And we all get to just do this amazing work in our own special way. And it makes me yeah, it makes me feel really calm and safe about the whole thing in that particular way. So yeah, that's how I did that.
So many thoughts. I love the idea that it isn't a zero sum game, and that I think that there have been in industries that I've been in and experiences that I've had that have felt like the opposite of that. Is that if you're successful, then that somehow is going to take away from mine, and that mindset is just like detrimental, and it's not true either. I like what you were saying. There's plenty of room at the table. I've also heard it said that there's like room on the mountain too, and that if you reach your peak or whatever, like you can help show the way to other people, and that there is plenty of the room. And I definitely add my voice to yours on that, and I think that's such a better way and a more healthy way of looking at it. When you were talking about staying in your lane, it was interesting. I don't know why, but I don't know what overcame me, but I had decided I was going to do a sprint triathlon. I don't know why. And so I wanted to do well, and so there was like a group coaching kind of thing. And the advice that she gave, it was just run your race. It's your race, it's your pace, stay in your lane. And I like that advice. I thought it was great. That being said, it was super hard. So the one that I was doing, like the swim was not open swim, and I chose this one because of that, because I feel like an open swim in like a lake would just freak me right out. Because if you're like in the middle of the lake and then you get tired and then your only option is to die. So
No, thank you. I'm
yes,
set over here on the seashore. Like I'm good. I
yes,
get that.
yes, yes. So we did it in a swimming pool. And so you can envision there's like a lot of people in this swimming pool, and they have like lanes like mapped out. And so you're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So you like do your whole thing swimming like the length of it. Staying in your own lane in that situation was is like hypothetically easy. However, when you're in your lane and people are like passing you in that lane, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And so as you were talking about like when you had decided the podcast that you like your angle that you were going to work on and how you were inspired by these people, but that you wanted to keep your lane open, I was like that. I feel like that seems like such a great idea. So that you're not trying to be with anyone else. You're not trying to compete with anyone else. You're just gonna let your own voice, your own flavor, like reign through, and that you're not gonna compete with anyone else.
Absolutely. That's one of the lessons too that I've had to learn multiple times because even though I try to keep myself in my own lane, I still have a lot of coaches that I look up to and also coach peers who maybe started with me or started after me that have zoomed past me and made way more money way faster or got to places that I wanted to go that I haven't gotten to yet, things like that. And the biggest lesson I've learned there is to really fall in love with your own story. Like your story is going to look different than other people's story, and it's okay. And it doesn't matter if they go faster or slower than you because your story is yours and you can't make your story look different than it is. You can't make it match someone else's story so that you can feel better. That's just not the way that it goes. It's like building a family, you or getting married. How many times have we been in a situation where all of our friends got married before us or something like that, or like they're all having babies before us, or you only have 3 babies but your friend has 7. It just it never ends. It never ever ends. And your story is always going to be your story, and you're always going to be ahead of people and behind people no matter what. So you have to look, we look for what we want, because there's so much evidence out there to prove all kinds of stories about ourselves, right? And if we stay over here looking at all the evidence that proves that we're behind, what does it do? It creates slowing ourselves down, and then we really are behind. But when we look at evidence saying that no, our story is perfect, it's exactly as it should be, it's unfolding exactly the way that it should, then we create that calmness and that stillness, and it soothes that sense of urgency, that sense of not enoughness that can come when we compare ourselves unduly. There's no need to run the race to try to beat everyone. You run the race to gain the experience and to become a different person. And sure, if you want to run the triathlon, you could go for it, but it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take like tons of conditioning, tons of failure. And if that's what you want, go for it. But all along the way, if you're beating yourself up, telling yourself, I'm losing, I'm behind, everyone's ahead of me, it's not going to propel you forward. It's only going to keep you further back. And so that's been my favorite lesson with that one is this is my story. And I love my story, and how it unfolds was perfect for me. And I can achieve anything I set my mind to if I want to, but how it unfolds, I'm not really in control of how it unfolds fully. But I get to experience the uniqueness of my story that no one else can have. No one else can even replicate, not even close. And that just I love it. It just feels really good.
That's where we'll pause for now, but trust me, there's more goodness ahead. In part 2 of my conversation with Laura Bytheway, we go even deeper into the bold, faith led choices she's made and the wisdom she's gained along the way. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and keep bringing your visions to life.